Hello and welcome to the Wolves Report on Ryan Leicester, and thank you for joining us for episode 117, where tonight we'll give you our Forest match and player analysis, what needs to happen in the January window, take some of your questions and look ahead to the games against Bristol City and Newcastle. I was joined by Tyler on Nocky. Now it's just Nocky. I think Tyler's having some IT issues, but you know what they say, Nocky, you don't work with children or animals, so that should be pretty much me working by myself, or maybe no one at all. But anyway, welcome to episode 117. Straight to business, Nocky. Hopefully, Tyler can join us shortly. Your take, Nocky, on Wolverhampton Wanderers 0, Nottingham Forest 3.
I've had a few days to think about it, and I'm not too disheartened by it. But I think what it probably did was gave a little bit of a snapshot of the damage this self-sufficient model's doing to us. Because, I mean, we're 7 years into our Premier League journey, and our three centre-halves consisted of our first choice left wing-back, our second choice right wing-back, and a centre-half that we've been trying to loan out most of the summer. So that's a massive failing on the part of the club, in particular Matt Hobbs, who I genuinely don't understand how he's still in a job. I think he's a disgrace. But there's so many things we've gotten wrong in that area, and it's cost us. You know, we had all that momentum from the last three games, and I was relatively confident going into the game. I fancied we might get something out of it, and then similar to everybody else, I saw the team sheet and just felt instantly deflated, and Molineux was flat. And through those poor decisions when we were told we didn't need another centre-half in the summer, as a result of that, all the momentum, everything that we had has disappeared now because we've been spanked at home, and that's through poor decision making. So I certainly don't blame the manager for it. There's individual errors from the players, which I'm sure we'll come on to, but collectively I don't really blame the players. There's some poor finishing from us, there's some good goalkeeping from them, but you can't go into a game with one recognised centre half, and it's that one centre half that the hierarchy don't want at the club. I think it's an absolute shambles that we got to that point. But in terms of the actual performance, we could have scored goals. We had some opportunities. We probably should have done better than we did. But if you're conceding goals like that, you're just not going to give yourself a chance. I mean, the first one is just a simple poke forward that's left them 2-on-2. We haven't reacted. And then the second one is probably worse, in all honesty, because Doherty stood there with his hand in the air for 10 seconds before he moved. So just really disappointed. And it felt like if we could have got something out of that game, and you go 4 games unbeaten, it gives you a little bit more hope. And now you're kind of, as I said earlier, you're deflated now because you've lost in the way that we've lost. And I don't think we're a particularly good side. I think they were a very Nuno side. They're set up well. They were organised. As soon as they got the 2 goals, second half, they sat deep, asked us to push onto them, and then if they got the opportunity to break, they were going to take it. But it feels very much like it's a defeat of our own making because of our self-sufficient model, which has got to be addressed, because we're just circling the drain again now as a result of that.
Tyler, welcome. I'm glad you've got your IT sorted, mate, and we're not distracting you with any darts this week. Just
Tottenham Liverpool.
Yeah, just Tottenham Liverpool. Sorry, mate, trying to fit you into your very busy sporting schedule. The manager had done well in the opening 3 games. He didn't really have anything different to what Gary had, but good win at Leicester, beat Man United, good performance, good point at Spurs, really, considering where Wolves are. But Monday night was a bit of a reality check. And as Nocky alluded to go into any Premier League game with that back 3, and I know he did say he wanted a fluid back 3, and he doesn't necessarily want 3 centre-backs, but that's not a Premier League back 3 going forward. And the fact that Wolves have been allowed to get into that position, to be forced to play those players, is unacceptable.
Well, yeah, you're both right in what you've said. I think we've got hope in him, haven't we? But he's not a miracle worker. And you could have anyone in the dugout on Monday night, and with that back 3, you're totally up against it, especially with someone the nous that Chris Wood's got. He knew when to pull on. He knew exactly what to do. They pace out wide, and obviously that led to the second goal that Doherty threw the towel in on. It was just a sign of where we are, isn't it? And like you said, to be 6 or 7 years in, and they're your options, it just sums up what Nocky said. You know, it is negligent, isn't it? And it's letting the side down, isn't it? And I think we all sort of knew deep down the squad probably wasn't as good as we thought it might be. You know, you see flashes from players, don't you, like Doyle, Hwang, Sarabia. You see the odd bit, but they're not consistent Premier League footballers, are they? They don't contribute at this level week in, week out. And I'm sure we'll come on to the Bristol game, but for me, you just have to wrap anyone in cotton wool that's going to start your league games and go from there. But there aren't even any like kids knocking at the door, are there, to burst into the team? You know, where are the 17, 18-year-old kids that you'd want to give a game to on Saturday? The whole thing's just a bit of a mess, isn't it? And the squad is so imbalanced. And yeah, we're going to get one over the line by the looks of it, but I'd argue we need another 4 or 5 players, if you ask me.
I mean, we're going to talk about survival chances, Tyler, but just jumping on your opinion quickly there. 4 or 5 players going forward, or 4 or 5 players to stay up, because I think if Wolves got another defender of allegedly equal quality the guy coming from France is, I think another one like him, and I think Wolves are fine.
Not for me. I think Tommy Doyle showed on Monday night he's not up to this level. Totally overran, not fit enough, can't get around the pitch, hasn't got the legs. We haven't got a left back Toti's injured and ain't Nori, so there's nothing there at the moment. For me, it would be not including the guy that's signing. I know we're not going to get it, but I would want 3 new centre halves. I'd want a centre midfielder, a wide player, and a striker.
Yeah,
there's no one knocking on the door to take Strand Larsen's position. There's no creativity in the side. When Kuna's not there, Bellegarde can't do that role. Forbes can't. Hwang can't. Big fan of Rodrigo and what he's done. He might get a role there, but the squad's totally imbalanced. Doyle, like we said, he's just not a consistent Premier League performer, nor is Bellegarde. There's a list of them that you could talk through. Lemina's obviously checked out because his performance was a disgrace. So you can't finish the season with Gomez and Andre and Doyle. That just can't happen, can it? So minimum centre midfielder and 2 centre backs is an absolute minimum.
Lockie, would it be fair to say that other than the defence, Wolves' best, I mean, if you're talking Semedo, ain't Nori, Andre, Joe Gomez, Cunha, Geds, and Strand Larsen, that's good. That's for me, that's good enough. I mean, the depth isn't there, but they're all starting 11, and you put Jose Sarr in there as well. It's just at the back that we've really got an issue. But Tyler's talking about the exposure for depth, but in terms of actually your best 11, you'd say that 8 out of the 11 are actually probably good enough. Well, I think they're more than good enough.
But it's a squad game, isn't it? And you can make 5 substitutes now, and we can't replace quality with quality. I mean, they took Chris Woods off. They brought on another striker who's dangerous, and he gets them a goal. We haven't got the ability to do that. Strand Larsen, there's no plan B for Strand Larsen. You can put Hwang there, but let's be completely honest. He's had 2 good moments in the last 3 games, and he's got himself a couple of goals.
Year. Well
taken. He's not a solution. Doyle, I've tried really hard to see some positives out of Doyle, and he's had a couple of brilliant moments for us this season, but he's not consistent, as Tyler said. He's not good enough at this level. I think there has to be some harsh realities that we face, because we've got nothing in that midfield area unless we've got Gomez and Andre. As soon as you take one of them out, and I think Gomez had a good game, to be fair. I thought he was good in the middle, but I just don't think Doyle offered us anything, and we were desperate for a striker to come on instead of Larsen, just to give us something different. And I think those players are out there. There's a lad at Middlesbrough, Latte Laff, you could probably get for a decent price, who gives you a new dynamic at front. The players are out there if you're willing to go and find them. So yes, we've got a decent starting 11, but you get punished from the bench these days. Teams can make those changes. They can change things around, and they can hurt you. It's happened to us multiple times this season. The squad isn't there to do it. And defensively, I want 3 centre halves on with Chris, because we can get 2 decent centre halves in. That still leaves us a problem where Dawson's past his best now by some distance. Totti's a liability, and Mosquera's injured. So we had the 2 lads on the bench, Pond and the French kid we signed. Neither of them got looked at for what reason. They're not ready yet. So we may have numbers in that position, but we haven't got the quality in that position. So I'm with Tyler. I think we need 3 centre halves. I think we need another midfielder, and we need another number 9 to help assist and compete with Strand Larsen. And they've got to be players who are ready to go now, not players who are going to be ready in 3 years, because we've not got that kind of time. So the squad's got to improve now.
Tyler, what does it say when, and I know that this is a good one for you, and I wrote this down earlier on, but what does it say when Toti Gomez comfortably gets in our best 11 at the moment? probably maybe even Wolves' best centre-back. Now, I know we have a laugh and a joke. On his day, for me, he's good against the better opposition, stopping technical players. When he has time to play, I think he gets exposed because he's very inconsistent on the ball. But what does it say with Wolves, how much are they missing Toti Gomez on that side of the pitch? What does that say about Wolves' recruitment and what they've done over the last few years?
Well, I think you know what I'm going to say, don't you? It just proves where we're at. And on with you, you know my thoughts on him. I'm not his biggest fan, but he walks into our best 11 at the moment without a shadow of a doubt at left centre half. There's an argument if he's fit with the new guy coming in at right centre half, it gives you that
There's a lot of pace and strength
and
isn't there?
athleticism that he likes. I think we all know he's not very good or comfortable on the ball, but you can probably get away with that if Aït-Nour is there. It's just a squad, isn't it? I mean, we've talked about it and it beggars belief, but I'll stick to your original point. Yeah, if Toti's fit now, on with you. He's probably our first choice centre half on the team sheet. I think only Wolves would sign a Uruguayan centre half that's scared of his own shadow. You know what I mean? They're normally part of the cartel, aren't they? You wouldn't go near him. He's just so. I like him on the ball. I think he could probably play in a 3. I think he's got some good attributes, but he's not that aggressive, ball-winning centre half. And Chris Wood had him on strings like a puppet the other night. It was embarrassing at times, but I'm not ruling him out because I do think there's something there if he can get the right people either side of him.
Yeah, I think when you have two athletes with pace either side of Bueno, a little bit like when you had sort of Willy Bolly and Bennett either side of Cody, you can protect someone that sort of not as much pace and physical stature. Now, I think Santiago's okay, but he can only play in the middle of a 3. Dawson now, he can only play in the middle of a 3, and that's a problem now. But yeah.
You're saying these, and this is where my issue is with this, is that we're saying these defenders could be okay with this. We've conceded more goals than anybody else in the league. Southampton are bottom of the league with 6 points. We've conceded more goals than they have. So they're not good enough. Defensively, these players are not good enough. And there are some positives I take from the game. I think Lima and Rodrigo Gomez were excellent, but you need to be ruthless at this stage of the season if you want to survive. And the amount of goals we've conceded and the type of goals we've conceded, it's a direct reflection on the defensive options we've got. Because look how many we've scored. The amount of goals that we've put in the other end, we should be sat in mid-table now. But it's purely based on that defence that we are failing badly. So until we've got the guts to address that and make those difficult decisions, you're just going to keep doing the same thing all the time.
Yeah, I think Monday was a tough one and it really exposed. Maybe if Wolves can take that as a wake-up call, whether, I don't know, in terms of what spending power Wolves have got, I know I think it's Agbadou, I can't even say his name, it's going to turn into a song and I'll end up singing it and getting in trouble. But I think that kind of player with that physicality and that mobility is key, because if you're asking your right centre-back to go as wide as Doherty and you're leaving him one-on-one with a winger, Matt Doherty's going to get in real trouble there. I wouldn't want Aït-Nour on the other side, although he's got the pace, he's not got the physicality. So you need that 6'2", pace, strong, and someone that's comfortable on the ball. So Wolves are acting and hopefully they'll do it soon. But yeah, I still think come the end of January, Toti's in Wolves' strongest 11. I don't know if he's in with 2 new players then. But let's see. I don't have an issue. If Toti's fit either side and there's a player who's strong and fast, left and right of Bueno, I think that pulls Wolves in a much stronger situation than they are now, Tyler.
Yeah. I think me and Nocky probably agree with you that we don't think we're going to get 3, but I think the need is 3. On with you, I don't think there's a way in the world we sign 3 centre halves. There's the links to the Chelsea kid who can play sort of left back, left centre back. I think that would be a good option. But you're probably right. Yeah, come the end of the month, Toti's still going to be knocking around, isn't he? And I like the profile of this signing because he's 27, he's 6'4", he's the captain. I mean, we lack leadership, don't we? Got to the ground Monday night and you're thinking, who's the captain going to be? Because you just don't know, do you? So I think that's a very good profile. Is it whetting our appetite because there might be a couple more, or is it going to be that's your lot, mate, all the best? That's the only worry that I've got.
Yeah, I really like the look of it. But yeah, let's go back to the game. Nocky, the first goal, it almost felt inevitable. I'm not even going to give him the credit of his name. He scored a deflected goal and it went in. It was always going to be. It just felt that was going to happen. Someone's had bets that Gibbs White and Chris Wood were going to score. Congratulations to them. But the writing's on the wall. When they get a chance, you just knew it was going to be him. But he has got a bit of luck, but I don't think Wolves can see that goal with Andre in the team. But the space he's allowed, you know he's a number 10. You know he floats free. Who's tracking him? You should have a runner on him there protecting, because you know what he does. He will pick up the space between the defence and the midfield, and he'll drive forward. He's allowed to do that. They pick him out, they score. It's a really poor goal to concede.
It's kind of sums us up this season, doesn't it? I mean, how many times have we said that we don't make teams work to concede, to score goals against us, but we have to really work to score. And it's just it's a toe poke from the back. Gibbs White picks it up in his own half. No one closes him down. He's on the edge of the area before he releases the ball. And then he just stands still, and we go off for a walk and leave him with enough time to finish the pullback. So we should never concede from there. And I agree with Andre in the side, potentially. Maybe that doesn't happen, but again, that's a reflection on the comments that we said earlier about Tommy Doyle, that you feel that impact because you're not replacing quality with quality, and no one went with him. We left him, and he was pretty inevitable, wasn't it? And he celebrated in front of the South Bank. I think with what was being sung to him before that, you can't really blame him for doing that.
I'd be celebrating like that.
Yeah,
I don't particularly like him, but if you give it, you got to take it, and it's exactly the celebration I'd be giving.
It's football, isn't it?
That's football. I've got no issue with that. Good for him, because that's how I'd be celebrating as well. But equally, we'll get an opportunity, hopefully next season, for payback. But that's the game. No issue with that.
No, I'm saying stuff like that doesn't bother me, to be honest with you. I hate everyone who doesn't play for Wolves anyway, so it doesn't make any difference to me if they celebrate or not. But it was just a really poor goal, and it was frustrating because he felt like a Wolves performance under Nuno, when we had those kind of times when we were on the back foot a little bit. We were defending, but then we'd break and we'd score. And you knew as soon as we got the opening goal, generally we were going to win that football match. And that's sort of how it felt when they got that opener. And just really disappointing to concede a goal as soft as that. And again, we can dig into the defence, but you've got square pegs in round holes. So it's difficult to really hammer them for it, because they didn't want to be in those positions. And with the best will in the world, I know they're professional footballers, you're comfortable in your own position, you know where to play. And with the exception of Bueno, who I don't particularly think's up to it anyway, they were all out of position. So it's one of those frustrating goals to concede, but it's not a goal you should concede at this level. Yeah,
just jumping on top of that, Nocky, Tyler, it is fair to say, I mean, Wolves had a lot of players out. I mean, and it does expose the squad. So are we being overly critical, or is it exposing the squad? Or is it a bit of both? Because no Cunha, no Semedo, no Andre. I think Dawson probably starts if he's fit. Obviously, he was part of the team at Spurs. So a lot of players were out, so exposed how thin the squad were. But are we being overcritical, or is it a good wake-up call?
I don't want to sit on the fence. I do think it's a bit of both. I mean, you're probably looking at, if you count Mascara, you're probably looking at 50% of your outfield players that would start not being available. Mascara, Totti, Andre, Semedo, Cunha. They're all
nailed to start. And I think you are considerably better with those players.
And you're a stronger side, you are. So there are elements of that.
Look at the pace and the mobility, all those players that you talk about.
Yeah.
That almost, Wolves are considerably better with those five in the team.
They are. But as Nocky said at the start, it is a squad game now. It is a game now of 18, 19 footballers. And we've talked about other squads, haven't we? Teams that have got promoted after us and are now miles ahead of us squad-wise and strength-wise. And there's a lot of those teams. It seems as we talked about at the start, it seems our replacements, our reserves, our subs, whatever you want to call them, just aren't really up to scratch. I mean, Bellegarde comes on and the game pretty much died, didn't it? There's no one to replace Strand Larsen.
Strange sub that was for me.
Forbes came on and just another game where he's ineffective. There are positives and we'll come on to them, and it's not all doom and gloom. But to answer your initial question, if you take 5 first teamers out of most teams, especially teams near the bottom, they're going to
look what he's done. Look at one player out of Man City's done.
But exactly. And you are going to struggle. But I think Nock is right. For me, that nature of that first goal, somebody can still go to the ball, somebody can still foul him, somebody can get a yellow card before you get to that point. It's all a bit too not. Like I talked about tongue in cheek about Sante, go and engage him and smash him if you have to and get a yellow card. that's what their centre halves would have done because they're two monsters. They'd have taken us out. And we're just too nice. It was so easy to score past. So that's where I think we let ourselves down a little bit, just that streetwiseness, that bit of know-how.
And while we're on the subject of soft goals, Nocky, the second, for me, I thought Wolves actually played well the first half. I thought they were very unfortunate. I think, I know we've talked about it on the group chat. I think that Strand Larsen probably should have done better. I think he's very unfortunate not to have at least one goal. I thought it was a good performance, but that second goal just before half-time, it killed us. I just think then the second half, that if we'd have gone in at 1-0 down, the momentum was very much with Wolves. The Wolves, even though they were losing, they looked like they were the team that were going to score next. They were countered. For me, it's a terrible goal. Santi's trying to play offside. Doherty's too busy appealing for offside. He's got his hand up when Santi's 2 yards further behind him. And again, if you're leaving, was it Hudson-Odoi? If you're leaving him against Doherty, there's only ever going to be one winner. And that's why it's essential that you've got an athlete with pace at the right centre-back who can play sort of right to centre. But yeah, for me, it's such an avoidable goal. Yes, granted, it's a foot race that only one player is going to win, but Doherty's got his hand up and he's appealing for the first 3 seconds. Get into position and stop him or foul him. Stop putting your hand up. Take one for the team.
Yeah, I mean, I'll worry about Larsen when he's not getting chances because we've been pretty ruthless this season, but he should have scored 2, maybe 3 goals, but it didn't happen. In terms of the goal, I've no idea why players still stand there with their hand in the air now. You've got VAR. It's going to come back and make that decision for you. And
if he's offside, it'll get corrected. Carry on until the whistle goes. Clatter him or get into position because holding his hand up for a second, all right, I'm not saying he'd have got back, but he'd have had a better chance of blocking between him and the player, the goal and the goalkeeper by a mile.
Yeah, well, take him out. Take him out. Get a yellow card.
I'm directly in line with it, and that putting that hand in the air cost him a good 3 or 4 yards on Hudson-Odoi. And as soon as Odoi was past him, it exposed. And we talked about the experiment of having Doherty in that position last week, didn't we? And it was the same with Lamina. He got exposed badly for pace, and as soon as he's past him, we're in all kinds of trouble. And you knew what Wood was going to do. We spoke on here last week, and I said that he'll pick on Bueno, he'll attack him, he'll target him, and he'll hurt us. And that's what he tried to do for the whole game. And we stood off him. And how you can leave their centre forward in that much space, pretty much on the penalty spot to score, is pretty pathetic. So it was a real poor goal to concede. And you're probably right. If we have our first choice centre backs and our midfield in there, we could be 2 up by that point because of the chances we've created. So it is fine margins, but again, it comes down to the mismanagement as to why we've got this kind of squad at the minute.
Yeah, Tyler, it was a strange one for me. Obviously 2-0 at half time. I don't actually think Wood and Morgan Gibbs-White did that much, but they got an opportunity and they both scored. It's not like I thought Gibbs-White was managed quite well. We tackled him quite well. We pressed him. Obviously, he got his goal. Wood didn't really do much. I mean, sorry, someone commented earlier on, but it's gone way up in the feed. But I actually thought we managed them 2 quite well, but just that they were ruthless with their chances.
Well, yeah, I saw Gibbs-White get man of the match officially, but there was only one man of the match.
That was their goalkeeper.
Their goalkeeper,
sure. All day, yeah. He's made, first half, I can think of at least Rodrigo's volley, Strand Larsen's header, Strand Larsen's tapping that he's missed, Hwang's half chance on his left foot. I mean, you're right. If you go to that game to neutral, you fully expect Wolves to go in at least level, if not in front. And you knew we were on top because the Forest fans didn't make a noise at 1-0 up because we did dominate the game till the second goal ultimately. But it doesn't matter. You've got to score the goals, and Chris Wood has one chance and buries it. Strand Larsen has 2 or 3 and doesn't. And on the night, ultimately, that was probably the difference. I mean, we talk about how well organised Nuno had for it, but we were carving them open time and time again in that first half on both sides.
I know. It sounds like sour grapes. Yeah, it sounds like sour grapes. I've actually thought we Wolves did enough to get something out of that game. First half, if it was 3-2 at half time to Wolves, no one could have said that wasn't a justified scoreline. No. But Forest took their chances and we didn't. So I'm not going to get overexcited about the 3-0 defeat. Just finishing up on the game though, Nocky. They bring their sub on. He's bullied us left, right, and centre. Just battered everyone out of the way and tapped it in. Of the 3 goals, that was the one that worries me the least because Wolves are pressing. They're trying to get in the game. They counter the score. Yeah, I'm about that goal.
Yeah, I'm disappointed with it because I feel like that's probably Lamina's last game, and his last interaction for Wolves is to kind of just stand off and watch the ball go past him to, the lad who crossed it back for a 1 metre score. So really disappointing, but the game's dead and buried at that point. He kind of summed up the night, really, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I mean, as I said on Twitter and talked to a few people, we talked about it as well. We got well and truly Nuno'd. We've seen Wolves deliver that performance multiple times and win 1-0 or 2-1 or 2-1, defend, organise, counter and score, and we were on the receiving end of it. What's annoying is that I spoke to my dad before the game about this. We played into Forest's hands. Granted, Wolves probably should have scored, but for me, if you're approaching that game, I would have just tucked in and played Forest at their own game, because traditionally, Wolves under Nuno always struggled against teams that tucked in and sat back. Those were the games that they really struggled in. Now, I'm not saying that would have gone down well, but I think playing so high up and exposing us to the pace was a little bit naive. I'm not really going to moan, though. It's a makeshift back three. The manager's 2 wins, a draw and a loss out of 4. It's a good start. It's a lesson learned, and hopefully one that's sort of a few more home truths in terms of what needs to be done in January. Let's go through the players quickly before we answer some of the questions. You are listening and watching episode 117 of the Wolves Report with Chris, Tyler, Mark Knock and myself, Ryan Lester. Tyler, Jose Sarr, I mean, picked the ball out of the net 3 times. What else has he had to do, really?
Yeah, I mean, they've had 3 shots on target and they've scored all 3, haven't they? So, yeah, he didn't have anything to do, did he? And, by far the quieter goalkeeper, but one of those games, isn't it, where it happens? So, yeah, still decent with his distribution. Came and got a couple of crosses or punched a couple that were out of his comfort zone. So, yeah, he was fine, wasn't he? I don't think he could really do anything about the goals, really.
No, I think there's a deflection on the first one. He was unlucky.
It's that close, and when it's hit like that close from 12, 14 yards, you ain't going to save them. So he couldn't do anything for me. So, yeah, I thought he did okay. Probably 7, really, if you had to give him a score.
Knocky, moving on to the interesting bit of the team. Matt Doherty, Santiago Bueno and Ryan Aït-Nouri. I actually thought Ryan Aït-Nouri was Wolves' best centre-back or defender on the night, which is something I never thought I'd be saying. But again, that tells us pretty much where we're at.
Yeah, it's a pretty low bar, though, based on the performances, isn't it? I'm not going to hammer them because that's not their comfortable natural position, and we left them very exposed. Bueno was probably the biggest disappointment because of how badly he got bullied by Chris Wood, and we could all see that coming. We spoke about it last week. I thought he was abysmal. Aït-Nouri was okay. Doherty was okay, but collectively they were very, very poor.
Yeah, probably 3s and 4s all round at the back.
Yeah,
I actually don't think Aït-Nouri did that bad, mate, to be honest. Considering he's playing left of a set 3 and we all think he's more of an attacking player than a defender, I actually thought Aït-Nouri, down that side of the pitch, I thought he was okay.
Yeah, but if you judge it purely on that performance, we've shipped 3 goals at home. It's a 3.
Yeah, it's hard to defend. I love numbers. I can't really defend that. You've absolutely nutmegged in the middle of my own show. Moving on to the middle of the park, Tyler. For me, pretty good performance and 1 really poor performance. Tommy Doyle and Joe Gomez.
Yeah, I saw a quote on Twitter about Pereira sort of murdered Doyle about, hasn't he, saying he wasn't at the level required for that game. Didn't appreciate the lines where he needed to be. He didn't try and even track back for the first goal, I don't think, that well.
Who's holding there for that first goal? Not good enough.
But what? I mean, that guy must have been knocking at the door for O'Neill and to get the start, to get a chance. He gets a start, gets the chance, and then sort of dishes that up. And I don't know with him. Nocky's been telling me since day dot he's not up to this level, and I think I agree. I think he could come and play cameos for 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes maybe, keep the ball, look after it, recycle it. When you're in a game like that and it's blood and thunder against their physical side, unfortunately, he was just nowhere near it. And Gomez was Gomez, busy, industrious, never gives up. Couldn't fault his performance at all. But we said at the start, if we're going to the end of the season with those 2 and Andre, it's going to be squeaky bum time. There's no way in a million years Lamina stays after that cameo.
No, so I'd imagine Mario will be on his way. But
Because made of glass.
Yeah, Tommy Doyle's a funny one for me because I think in terms of technical ability and distribution, we've seen games like where he saved us at Brighton and we were at Brentford when he was fantastic last year in the Cup. I think when he sits the deepest, which is where he should have been for when Gibbs White scored the opening goal, when he sits in front of the back three and comes and collects, I think he's Andre's replacement, but I don't know why he was that far out up the pitch and out of position.
But you don't remember you don't remember his performances, do you? Like at the end of a Gomez performance or an Andre performance, you know what they've done. You can remember little moments from a Tommy Doyle performance because he doesn't deliver you a complete performance. He's got a good pass in him. He can do something special like he did at Brighton and he did to get us a second goal against Man United. And that's the cameo piece. I think there's a role for him in the squad.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
But in terms of you won't see a Tommy Doyle performance and you won't remember that performance. You'll remember one thing that he did in it. Whereas João Gomez, you know exactly what he's done for 90 minutes. Andre, you know exactly what he's done for 90 minutes. You'll remember, when he did this, he smashed his player, he won that ball, he intercepted a pass. You don't get that from a Doyle because he's not at the level where he can be consistent in the Premier League.
Yeah, I just think I do think he'll have his part to play because there's going to be injuries and there's going to be suspensions. I think he's very much someone that sits deep, collects because he's neat and tidy on the ball, and we saw for the second goal against Man United, he can find a pass. I just think when he's asked to do box to box or a bit higher up, he just doesn't have the physical capabilities for that. Nice footballer, but just not the mobility needed for the way Wolves play football. Moving on to the wing backs. Yeah, I mean, I thought Pedro Lima was okay, Nocky. I thought
he was excellent.
I thought he did good the first half.
He got hit a bit by Pereira, hit him a bit, didn't he, for not stopping crosses? But to be honest, I thought they were. Yeah, I thought Lima and Rodrigo were the two real standouts for us. Rodrigo Gomez, for me, he's put himself into contention for the next game massively now because I thought he was excellent and I thought Lima was really good as well. But there's nothing wrong with a bit of constructive criticism, which is what I think that was, that he needs to block the crosses a little bit more. But in terms of their performances, I thought they were two of the standouts. I was really, really pleased with both of them. And it gives you a little bit of hope that if we do lose Semedo at the end of the season, that you've potentially got a player there who can...
Well, we probably needed to see that. I'm not sure next year when he's 18 or 19, he's going to be Prem ready, but that certainly was a good performance. And this isn't a slight on Doherty, but when you've got a proper right centre back with the physical attributes that we missed, someone behind you that can protect you, that isn't going to get exposed for pace, you can get forward a little bit more in that wing back position, like Wolves have done in the past. So, yeah, I mean, I enjoy watching them both. What's really interesting about Rodrigo is I know he can use his left, but he prefers his right. Those in-swinging crosses on his right foot, they look really nice. He looks like one of those players. And I know people talk about him sort of, you can see a little bit of Pedro Neto. He's somebody for me that just seems to put his foot down at the start and he's running the same at the end of the game. I don't think he's overly quick, but because he's so relentless, he looks quicker at the end of the game because everyone else is getting knackered and he's just still going, Nocky.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I can't believe he didn't score because he's hit an absolute point.
I mean, he's hit it too well.
I don't know how he saved it. It's a phenomenal strike, and he's managed to stop it. But he put in a great ball for Strand Larsen. I think it was his ball in for the header that anywhere else he scores. I thought he had some really, really good moments as well. I thought it was really, really positive performance for me. That was one of the things I took away and thought there's a player here. And it did remind me of a Neto performance because Neto always cuts back. He always cuts back, has a look around, looks for the pass and then plays it in. And he's got a lot of those kind of attributes. And I think in a wing-back position, he's going to hurt a lot of players and a lot of defences in this league. So, yeah, really, really positive. Probably the most positive thing out of the game.
Yeah, I've always been one, and you're always learning when you're watching football because the game's always evolving. I've always been one that says you need to be on your natural foot to be a wing-back. But having watched Rodrigo, I'm almost like, well, maybe you don't. Maybe the new game is you can cut inside because I've always imagined, Tyler, overlapping was important. You get there, you overlap, you forward, you get in, you whip the crossing. Maybe that's just me being older and talking about how I traditionally watch football. But watching Rodrigo on his weaker side at wing-back, it actually looked like it could work.
Yeah. And he did put some balls on his left foot as well. He did go beyond and he was comfortable on that side. I think Dave's just put there Kitely, and I sort of get that comparison to Kitely. He just looks like someone who just loves playing football, wants to be on that pitch, and will give you everything he's got for the whole time. And Dave's spot on. He reminds me a bit of him. He was comfortable coming inside and curling it. He was comfortable going beyond and using his left foot. He's on with Knock. He's one of the first names on the team sheet. That energy and that, like I said, he almost looks a bit quicker than he is because he's just so nimble and nippy. And
he's relentless.
He was going in the last minute as he was the first.
Yeah, but he's that kid's engine. I mean, but that's someone that just loves playing football, isn't it? He's relentless, and
that's what it is. Yeah.
When we saw him at the start, he looked a bit raw, but he actually looks like he can play football a bit more than I thought he could. I thought before he was a little bit push and go, but actually wing back cutting inside suits him quite well.
Sorry, mate. Just the last thing on those two. I think those two would really benefit Strand Larsen because Lehman in particular was firing balls in the box from all over the place, and there were quality crosses. They were deep. They had pace. They had whip on them. He was dropping them on the penalty spot. Rodrigo was doing it from the other side as well. And it's one of my biggest frustrations is that we've bought this big lad up front and we don't use him in the wide positions, and when we do seem to put balls in, he scores your goals, and he had a real good chance to score from across. And I really like some of the deliveries from Lima, and every time I've seen him, he seems to do that. He just crosses from anywhere, so that would definitely benefit us in the attacking area.
Yeah, I totally agree. Two of the positives with Joe Gomez, I thought on the night that were pretty good. Tyler, moving on to the front three, Strand Larsen missed a couple of chances. I know. Again, we've talked about this in depth on the group chat. Probably should score one, but I feel he's desperately unlucky.
No, he's not unlucky for me. Those two chances aren't unlucky. There shouldn't be a sniff for either of them. How he's missed the tap here. He's got the whole goal. I'll never understand. And the header, it just needs to be anywhere else. There was another one where he got in front of his defender and tried to sweep it. That was unlucky. He's one of them, isn't he? Like, I like everything about him, but I just think there's still a hell of a lot more to come and a lot more he can do. I think for his physicality, his size, I just want to see a bit more from him. I want to see him pushing people out of the way. I want to see him being a bit horrible. And if he brings that to his game, who knows where he'll stop, because he's got all the attributes to be a really good Premier League centre forward.
Great numbers though for his first season in the Premier League.
Yeah, brilliant. And like you said, it's a young kid playing in this league for the first time. I think you forget that. And the same with what we've just mentioned about Rodrigo and Lima. You know, these are young kids coming over here and playing and learning their trade in the toughest league in the world. Chris Wood probably just showed him where he needs to be in 10 years. Do you know what I mean? If he's got that that nous and that know-how, that's how you do it. And I think Liam Delap did it. I think those two at Molineux potentially showed him up a little bit in the physicality side, but big fan of his, doesn't shirk away, works hard, keeps getting chances. And like you said, when the chances stop coming, that's
when you worry about forward,
to really worry, But I enjoyed him, but I just think there's more to come from him.
And a topic that we've not talked about for a long time, Nocky, Hwang Hee-chan. Now, he's had a lot of criticism on this show, but in the last couple of weeks, he scored a fantastic goal at Spurs, scored a gifted finishing goal against Man United. You put Hwang Hee-chan in the box, he's going to score your goals. I never want to see him in a wide position again. He doesn't beat his man. He doesn't put a cross in. He doesn't have a shot. I don't know what he does. Now, I'm sure he puts a shift in and that's fine, but he's not a player I want to see out wide. For me, he's the backup for Strand Larsen. He's the man that plays down the middle because he's a box player and he can finish. But your job as a wide man, and I've said this 100 times, Nocky, on this show, your job as a wide player is to create for others or create for yourself. And if you do neither of them, you're not forward.
I agree. But he put an inch-perfect pass into Strand Larsen, who fired straight at the goalkeeper from 2 yards. So he should be sitting on an assist. And he's just such a conundrum. He's such a strange player. I mean, he's had that brilliant moment where he's checked back inside and he's played it to Larsen and he's fluffed it. And then 20 minutes later, he gets put through on the left and he's just tried to absolutely bludgeon one on his left foot when he's running out for a corner and it's whipped into the top tier. So he's such a strange player. I almost think he's a number 9 or he's nothing because he just doesn't offer you.
Yeah, I agree.
Enough. I'd rather have had. I know we couldn't have done it yesterday, but you'd rather have Ait Nouri in that position because you got someone with a little bit of now. So I'd rather have a Carlos Forbes or someone who's more likely to just run and then deliver the ball into the box. I just think with Hwang, he gets inside his own head a little bit too much. He confuses himself and then he kind of ties himself in knots and ends up basically just falling over. So it was frustrating. But as I said, he should have had an assist because he put an absolutely perfect ball in for Larson who missed. So it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? But if everybody's fit, he doesn't play, does he? I mean, that's
yeah.
where
I know.
my head
And
is.
if I know people will everybody really splits opinion, but if Wolves come in, if West, I mean, I don't think West Ham are going to now because Lopetegui's left. Shame, but if West Ham came in for him and they offered 20 million, I just don't see how anyone turns that down. But we did in the summer, which is absolutely crazy. Tyler, last but not least, and Goncalo Gedge, busy, nice footballer. Probably not his brightest game, but he's certainly someone I don't think he's ready to lose his place yet. I think he's in Wolves' best forward three.
Yeah, agreed, and totally agree with you. It wasn't his brightest, sharpest game, but we're getting energy levels from him. We're getting work rate from him now, which
Quality.
is
He makes things happen.
Yeah, he's a good footballer, isn't he? You can tell with some players their touch is very good. They know what they're doing. They're in control. He's one of those. He's a good footballer, and weirdly, probably flourishing in a better side because with better players around him. But you're sort of going against it. We said we missed Kuna, but we probably created more chances first half than we have all season. Second half, though, when we needed a bit of a spark, and
I think that second goal killed us, though. I think that really hit us. You are listening and watching episode 117 of the Wolves Report. Mark, not Chris Tyler, and myself, Ryan Lester. As always, ask for some questions. I can't get them all on. There's been lots, but thank you. So let's get through a few of those. Greg asks, do you think reaction in some quarters to Monday's defeat has been over the top? We could and should have been leading at half time. Vitor has been in charge 18 days, and Nuno has been in charge for a year. Good question. Nocky.
I don't think it's an overreaction because I think it's laid bare the result of the self-sufficient model we've been in. So I don't think it's an overreaction, but I do think you have to take the positives out of it. Nuno's been in there a year. Forest fans didn't particularly like him when he first came in. It's took him a while to win him round. But they've invested sensibly. They've not spent mass amount of money. They've invested sensibly and they've bought in good players. So.
Well, not this year. They bought everybody the last 2 years before.
They flighted the rules and started up, didn't they? That's a completely different conversation. So I don't think it's an overreaction. I think it's a real reality check. And I think that the mistakes of previous years has potentially now derailed what was a really good start for the manager. So set the positives, but also it needs to be addressed where the frailties are.
Absolutely. Greg, thank you as always for being part of the show. Moving on to Cato. This one's for you, Tyler. Has Lamina checked out and do we sell Hwang in January? Let's talk about Mario Lamina first. I love Mario Lamina. Mario Lamina is a big reason why Wolverhampton Wanderers are still a Premier League team. Does Mario Lamina get in Wolves' best 11 now? Probably not. If I was 31 and I was a footballer and I had a deal on offer that could sort my family and my kids out for the rest of their lives, would I take it? I probably would. I wouldn't begrudge Mario Lamina a move, but the only way that happens is Wolves get another centre midfielder, someone not of a similar ilk, but someone. I mean, there's talking about left-footed midfielders, creative players that we don't really have in the Brazilian league. So is that fair, Tyler? Happy for Mario to go as long as a replacement comes in, because we've seen really we can't just let someone go of that because. We're going to need him. If we don't get replacement, we're going to need him at some point in the rest of the season.
His performance on Monday night was disgraceful, and I don't mean that softly because I'm the same as you, big fan, done a lot for the club, but that was diabolical what he did on Monday. Didn't want to be there, didn't want the ball, was hiding, just gave it away. So to answer that question, it looks like he's checked out, doesn't it? It seems that way. Are they only going to sell him if someone comes in? There's that chance, because otherwise he could have probably gone by now, I would have thought. He's done good things for the club, but for me, sometimes it just feels the right time, and this might be it. It's been a tough season for him, hasn't it? Made captain, stripped of the captaincy, very emotional, now lost his place in the team. Yeah, maybe it's just a good time to go. And the Hwang one, yeah, I'd sell him.
Yeah, I wish Mario well.
I'll tell him yesterday.
If Mario stays, then great. I think on form, Mario recovers the ball as good as anybody.
He hasn't been on form, though, Ryan.
No, he hasn't.
He hasn't had a good season.
If he stayed, he would play a part, because with the way our midfielders play, he would be starting some games come to the end of the season. So if he stays, I want him to be great. But equally, I wouldn't begrudge Mario a move. I'll be grateful for what he's done if it is time to go. But as for Hwang, I know there's some people that really love him, some people that don't. We've criticised him a lot on this show, but equally, I think we have praised him and acknowledged him when he's done some good things. He scored some very good goals. And if, Nocky, the model is to be self-sustainable and to buy players and make a profit, we're still talking now about a Hwang Chan where you could probably still get your money back or make a profit. I don't see how, as a business, if we are operating to that method, that you wouldn't cash in on someone like him, particularly with the last 12 months he's had.
I mean, the sort of money that's been touted for him, 20 million, you're absolutely off your head if you don't take that, because he's never going to be worth that again. There's no other football club he'll play for where he'll be touted at 20 million quid. So I'd absolutely take it, especially if it meant we could maybe go and bring in another recognised number 9, or does it give us another playmaker?
An alternative 9 with a bit of pace, maybe.
Yeah, I want a different kind of number 9. I mean, we've got a big, strong lad up there as well. We've got Sasa Kalajic, who is probably never going to be fit again, I don't think. So he's not really a viable option. Fabio's out on loan. We've only really got one option in that area. So I want someone completely different, someone with a bit of pace, someone with a bit of energy, someone who can get around the pitch a little bit more. Not because I want Strand Larsen out of the team, but I want a plan B. And I don't think we've got that in that area now. So if you get the opportunity to sell Hwang and you could bring in that kind of player, then yeah, let's absolutely do it. In an ideal world, we go and spend the money and we don't sell the players and we keep the squad at the size it's at, increase those numbers, and then look to kind of balance it a little bit more in the summer. But that's not how we operate. So if we're going to bring these players in, there's going to have to be players going out the door.
Yeah, if both of them left in January, but replacements are brought in, that's fine. What, Hwangi's 28, 29 now, Lamina 31, 32. Yeah, I think it's a good time. But equally, I wish them both well. I have no issue with either player. Cato, as always, thank you for being part of the Wolves Report. Kev asks, have Fogston left it too late to avoid relegation? I think that's a question, Tyler, that you can only answer at the end of the month, isn't it?
Oh, it's a stinker, that one, isn't it?
Thanks, Kev.
Obviously, the answer is no. If you looking at it subjectively, the answer is no, isn't it? Because we can win every game and stay in the league. That's obviously not going to happen. I think what we could all probably agree on is that if we did it 4, 5, 6 games sooner, there were clear trigger points throughout the season, weren't there? Everton was one, yeah. Brentford was one.
I think Brentford was the big moment, because when you lose the away end, and there's no way back. You're a dead man walking then.
So I think they've left it too late, but not necessarily to avoid relegation. Oh, that sounds stupid. I think we all know if we'd have done it 4 games ago, I wouldn't have really had a problem with us staying up. Now I am in the 50-50 camp. And I think by the end of the month, with this run of fixtures, we'll be back in the bottom 3, in my opinion. And I think we'll be up against it. And when you start relying on other teams, that's when you know you're in a bit of a pickle. So 50-50 for me.
The next 6 are massive, aren't they? I mean, I'm with you. I think we need to come out the next 6 fixtures and be no more than 4 points adrift. Because I don't think we'll win in the next 6. So what you don't want is a Leicester or an Ipswich going on a run and you're suddenly 7 or 8 down, because I don't think we bring that back. So by the time we get out of these next 6 fixtures, we need to be within 4 points if we're going to have a realistic chance of staying up. Yeah,
it's a tough run of fixtures. Hopefully there's a little surprise in there. I don't know if there will be, but we don't know who we're going to buy. Cunha back, Semedo back, Andre back, a couple of new signings. Wolves look a completely different team then. So they'll have
What do you two think on that question?
No, I mean, again, I'm criticised for being over positive. I think Wolves will stay up. I'm not saying, they'll fly past and we'll be 15 clear. I do think Wolves are good enough to be 17th or above. I think Everton are definitely in the mix now. West Ham have acted because obviously they're concerned about it. I think Palace can have a bit too much with Eze. So I think it's
Everton down, isn't it?
I think it's Everton, Wolves and the bottom 3 now. I think it's three from those 5. And I do think, though, it'll be the 3 that came up.
I think you've articulated it perfectly, Tyler. I think it's never too late until it's officially too late, but it should have happened. I mean, I would have done it after Chelsea because of the way that we lost that game. But if you're going to wait until your next, as you called it, a trigger point, it would have been Brentford, and that was 9 games before we actually did it. And I think if you give Pereira that run of winnable games, only winnable on paper, and we lost them all, but if you give them winnable games, there's not a chance we're sat on the points tally we're on now. I think we're further away from it. It's not too late, but it should have happened a lot earlier. It's going to be difficult. We need to find points out of the next few games. As simple as that. But we're only going to do that if we back the manager.
But again, we're in this situation because of the failure to make a decision. We had one decision at the end of last season when obviously Gary O'Neill went on a fantastic run, and then the squad was exposed, but it all fell apart badly against Coventry, and the season sort of crumbled for them. So we had half a season with hardly any wins, gave the manager a new deal. You've got to look at the director of football for that. And then at the start of the season, it looked like there was an inability to find an adequate replacement. Not that they didn't want to get rid of him. They couldn't because they couldn't find anybody. And then higher powers had to step in and do it. So for me, this points at the people running the football club as much as it does Gary O'Neill, because it's your job there as the chairman, as the director of football, to make those decisions. So did Jeff Shee and Matt Hobbs leave it too late? They did. Did he leave it too late to avoid relegation? I don't think so. I think Wolves will be okay, but it didn't need to be as bad as it is now. Kev, thank you for being part of the show. Carl, I'll answer this one. What would you do in VP shoes to get the players' confidence back? I actually thought they were pretty confident the first half, Carl. I thought the football was good. I thought the energy levels was good. I thought we created enough chances to score 2 or 3 goals in that first half. So I don't think the confidence is down. I think, obviously, 3-0 on paper doesn't look good, but I think, again, that exposes the lack of depth and the neglect we've shown to the centre-back and defensive areas more than anything else. So, yeah, I don't think there's a confidence issue. I mean, the wind went out the sails at 2-0 for sure, but that's 45 minutes of football. But up until then, I thought Wolves actually looked a pretty good side. Carl, thank you as always for your contribution. Paul, what chance do we have staying up with the squad currently as it is? If we potentially bring in another centre-back along with Agbadu, I'm 60-40 staying up. We've answered that a little bit already. Guys, give us your percentage of how much you think you'll stay up. Nocky, what percentage of you believes that Wolves will stay up?
I'm 50-50, and that's not really on the fence because I was...
Crikey, splinters there.
Well, I was 20% a few weeks ago, so I've gone up to 50% now. I think it's very, very much in the balance.
Nocky's inflation at 30%. We'll take some of that.
Ipswich have hit some form as well, haven't they? So we need.
So have we since then.
We just lost 3-0, son. But we need that curtailing. If that happens, it gives us a chance, doesn't it? But if one of those teams goes on a run, then we're really in trouble. Then I do think the one who should be worried is Everton, though, because I think in their last 6 games,
they're not scoring goals.
Top scorer, isn't they? So it kind of tells you its own story there. So they're the ones. Sometimes you get a surprise that drops in, and it could well be them. But we can't worry about anyone else. We've got to look after ourselves.
Yeah, there'll be some stadium in the Championship. Nocky, what are what's your percentage for Wolves staying up?
Just answered you, son.
You mean me, Ryan?
Sorry, Tyler. Yeah, sorry, mate. Confusion.
Sorry, I'll try and answer a bit different to Nocky. As we sit here today, I'm 50-50. If we don't sign any more than this guy, I'd probably be 60-40 is going down. I don't think the squad's good enough, and I don't think the calibre of player is good enough. I think if we sign this guy plus 2 or 3 others, I'd then go 60-40 the other way, and I think we'd have enough. But if we don't sign anyone else and the run of fixtures we've got, I think we're bang in trouble.
It sounds daft, but games are running out, aren't they? And by that, I mean,
you've got plenty of
left. Winnable games are.
You've got 18 games. You can probably wipe out 10 of them, realistically. I mean, we go to Man City, we've got Arsenal at home, we go to Chelsea. We go to
9 points then, Knocker.
You might pick up a result there, but if you're looking at winnable games, we probably need to win, 6, maybe 7.
Can I just jump in there a second?
7 out of probably 10 winnable games to win.
Halfway through the season, though, and you two have reminded me of this, Wolves are out of the relegation zone. So you say that, yeah, Wolves are out of the relegation zone at the halfway point. So that tells you there are 3 teams worse. If Wolves invest and improve, and we've got a better manager now that's already getting a higher points percentage, I'm very much looking up. I can see.
But you could say that about the others, can't you? Ipswich are visibly improving and getting used. They're the only one that I worry about. I don't worry about the other 2. And I'm with you. I think Everton are banging it. The only thing that I have is on with Nokia. After these 5 or 6 games, we could be adrift again, and that's a different pressure. Then we're all comfortable and confident now to a point because of the run of games we've had, the new manager bounce, we've picked points up. After these 5 or 6, we're going to be down there again. There can't be a Wolves fan out there that thinks we're not going to be in the bottom 3 after the next 4 or 5 games. So that's when it starts for me. And that's what I'm saying. If the squad is no better then to what it is now, we are right in the brown stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. Given my percentage, though, I'm probably overly positive and I can't help myself. I'm 80% confident that Wolves will stay up.
What's that driven by, though?
What are you basing that on?
Is that pure optimism? Because we're level. Well, yes, we're at the bottom 3, but that's only on.
Well, you two told us we're relegated a month ago, and I said we've still got a chance. We're now out the relegation zone at the halfway point. We're better than 3 teams, and I don't think the manager who was in before Pereira was getting anywhere near enough out of them. Granted, we've had one poor result, but we were good at Leicester, we were very good v Man U, and we were decent at Spurs as well. That's the level of performance. You had a fit Cunha, Semedo and Andre, a couple of new signings. That's my reason, Nocky. I truly believe that Wolves will stay up 80%. In fact, I've just talked myself into 90%. I'm 90% confident that Wolves will stay up.
So here's one for you. If you do it very simply, after 19 games, Wolves had 16 points. So if you get the other 16 after the next 19, you finish the season on 32 points. That's a 50-50 toss of a coin for me as to whether you stay up. It's not an 80% chance.
It's not, but we have a better manager and we've signed a defender who will probably be our best defender. So we are improving.
And I think that's a fair argument. You think we're going to have a better manager and hopefully a better squad for those 19 games again. And can we be as bad in the second 19 as we were in the first 19? That's the observation that I'd agree with you on, Ryan, and that would give you a bit of hope.
Yeah, I agree with that. But also, I don't think you can make a fair judgment on this manager until he's had about 6 games, because we are in that honeymoon period. We're in that new manager bounce, and we're all happy and we're all excited about him at the moment. But Gary O'Neill, there were some really good performances early on. Yeah. I'm not saying Pereira's going to fail, but I don't think we can have a real balanced view and answer that question until he's had at least 6 games. And as we're both in agreement, Tyler, Wolves will be in the bottom 3 at the end of these 6 games. If Wolves can take 4 points from the next 6, they'll be in range and we've got a chance. If you lose all 6, you could be 7 or 8 adrift and then your 80% disappears off a cliff.
Paul, thank you for creating some good debate in there and always some great answers from the pundits, Mocky and Nyla. Got some new names as well. Happy New Year. I've not had a drink this year yet either. 12 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, Wolves go to Bristol City in the 3rd round of the FA Cup. Big Knocky's dad absolutely loves it. This is where he wants to be at Ashton Gate in the freezing cold at Ashton Gate with 4,000 Wolves fans loving it. Knocky, Tyler, surely it's a complete change. Newcastle away looks even more difficult now after they've gone to Arsenal 1-2-0. They look strong, they look physical, they look organised, they look all the things that we didn't really against Leicester defensively. But I think our focus has to be on the league. Obviously, I want a cup run, but I want to be in the Premier League more. Surely it's as many changes as possible, resting people up, protecting them for a tough trip to St James's Park on Wednesday.
I'll speak for. I personally don't care less about this game, and that's not like me with Wolves, but not bothered in the slightest. I think anybody that's going to play a part in the second half of the season doesn't even get on the coach on Saturday. We've talked about how weak and inept and poor the squad is. We can't take
any risks. No,
you can't play people like Gomez and.
No way.
Because
I know it sounds like a reach, but if we go to Newcastle and got a point, I'm absolutely buzzing. 100%. And you're only going to do that with everyone at their absolute maximum and a bit of luck. So why flog someone at Bristol City when they're going to have a good chance of kicking you up in the air and getting an injury?
I'm playing the kids and chucking the game. I ain't bothered. Knocky might have a different view, but that's where I am.
Mate, him and his dad are leaving at 8:30 with the packed lunch, mate, and they're on the way down.
Yeah, I'm leaving after this. From the football.
It kicks off at 12. I'm leaving after the podcast. Look, I want to win the football match, of course I do. But if you offer me a defeat there and a draw at Newcastle, I'll take it. I think he needs to have a look at the squad as well. You know, there's players he needs to look at and understand if they can play. I do think there will be some first teamers in there, because what he doesn't want to do is lose another game of football, regardless of who you're playing. It's confidence is bought from winning games. So, but I think you can expect Bentley to be in goal. I think Lima plays. I think Rodrigo Gomez plays. I think probably one of Alfie Pond or the French kid play. I don't think
Sarabia, Huang.
Yeah, Sarabia,
Tommy
Huang,
Doyle.
Forbes.
Doyle definitely plays. Forbes plays, and then
Kundal,
it's probably Huang in your number 9. So I think on paper we'll be relatively strong.
And Bristol are just outside the playoffs as well. So how
they're not going to be all that bothered, are they? So I think they'll be. I'm looking forward to it, because it's a game where there's not as much pressure on it, and you'll get to see some of the players who you perhaps want to see a Carlos Forbes from the start and see what he's got, because we're going to have to make a decision on him at some point. It's a game of football. It's where I spent most of my time watching Wolves in the lower league. So I'm looking forward to the game, and I think whatever team we put out will be competitive, and we should be going there trying to win it. And I want to win it. Winning is where the mentality we need to be now. Throwing games and things like that's not going to do us any good in the long term. We need to try and be more positive and start imposing ourselves on games.
But I think we're probably in agreement though, make as many changes as we can, put what quality we can afford to without taking risks. And then hopefully Semedo, Andre, and obviously Cunha, hopefully he's fit for Newcastle, protecting everyone for a really tough game at St James's Park. Let's go on to predictions then, guys. Tyler, first goal scorer and score for Bristol City v Wolverhampton Wanderers.
It's harder to predict, isn't it? Because, like you said, you just don't know who's going to play. But let's try and nick it 1-0 with Channy.
Well, we've got a good record at Bristol City. I think the last game we won 1-0 with Cavallero in the Cup. Before that, it was 2-1 with Ryan Bennett. There's been a couple of 60s there as well, with David Connolly scoring 4.
David Connolly still knocking about.
Oh, yeah, Dave, get him in. Knocky, first score on prediction for Bristol City. Bear in mind you're leaving this evening.
3-1 Wolves, and I'll go for a Pablo Sarabia opener.
Belter. Top corner. Oh, Tyler loves that. It's made his night. Moving on to a more interesting challenge away at St James's Park. This time we'll start with you, Knocker. Actually, I'll go 1-0 Wolves on Bristol City. 1-0 Wolves. You know I love it. Let's go to St James's Park, Knocker. Really tough game. They look in form. They look strong. They won at Spurs. They've just won at Arsenal. So loving life at the moment. Big challenge.
Yeah, you ain't getting a 3-1 Wolves out of me for this one. It's horrible. It's a horrible game. I mean, they look really strong. Isak up front, he's just a menace. And I think my biggest kind of concern with this one is I don't know what the team's going to look like. We don't know who's going to be fit. We're assuming Cunha's going to be fit. He may well not be. Dawson may not be fit. We know Totti won't be fit. So with the new kid, he's going to play. He's obviously going to come in at centre half, but then it could be Doherty. It could be Doherty and Aït-Nouri for all we know. It could be absolutely horrible. And if we're not relatively strong defensively, then we're going to get ripped to pieces. Best will in the world, and I'm not trying to sound negative, but I just don't have any kind of. There's no part of me thinks we can get a result there.
Tyler, you didn't give us a prediction, Knocker. You give us a lovely speech, but you didn't tell us anything about it.
4-1 Newcastle.
Jesus Christ. First scorer?
Isak.
Happy New Year. Tyler?
Yes, I am 3-0 Newcastle. Isak. Don't give us a prayer.
They're just very good, aren't they?
Home to Forest, so it's not that bad a prediction, is it?
They've just gone and won 2-0 at Arsenal. It's not negative to say. It's realistic, isn't it? They are a very good
they look
team.
really
they're miles ahead of us.
Yeah.
You know how unrealistic I am. 1-1. We'll take that. Rodrigo Gomez.
That's actually really negative for you to go for a draw. So even you're worried.
80% will stay up though. Currently got 1,375 people viewing the show live. Appreciate your ongoing support. If you could drop us a like or follow on YouTube, X, Facebook, or YouTube, or Spotify will be uploaded to in the morning. Knocky, thank you very much. Tyler, thank you very much as well. I've been your host, Ryan Lester, of the Wolves.